Hi, everyone. Welcome to Drawing One. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can get to the presentation, but I wanted you to make sure you saw my face before I disappeared. Um, so, um, I wanted to make sure I started off by giving you my contact information. So there's my email address. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. And then you can give me a call at that number as well, and that will get saved to my voicemail. I'm never in my office, especially not now. It's a very small office, so I won't be spending any time in there. But like I said, the best way to reach me will be my email address. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be having a holistic approach to art. And what that means is we're going to do more than just making. So we will produce artwork where we're going to be focusing on process and personal growth in skills, composition, and in ideas. We will do some art history, looking at historical as well as contemporary artists as inspiration for our work. Art criticism always sounds like a negative thing, but it's actually the thing that's going to help students grow the most in their art making. So we're going to be focusing on art historical and contemporary works as well as their own works, and focusing on how we can talk about art in order to improve our composition, how we organize our space, how we can improve and develop our skill, as well as our ideas. And then aesthetics, we're going to be making original works of art. And so we'll be making sure that they understand what originality is. And then lastly, responsibility, being able to take care of the materials properly, turning in their work, and participating in class. So we're going to be focusing on the artistic process. And so I'm going to teach them different ways to plan, how to brainstorm, how to find imagery, how to sketch, compose, how to select and practice media. We'll create our artwork. We're going to critique and refine, where we're going to try to improve our work. And then we're going to reflect on our work. So they will be self-assessing their progress as well. So they will be completing a portfolio, since we'll be doing a lot of our work, submitting it through online. They'll be making themselves a process portfolio. So they will turn in their work, documenting their work, and then showing their final work at the end. So I just wanted to give you kind of an idea of where we're going to start. I'm going to assess them at the very beginning and just see what they already know. We're going to focus on some line work and some warm-up activities. And then we'll be working on observational drawing with a lot of common objects that they have around the house. I also hope at getting them away from their computers for most of this. And so there'll be times where they'll be taking their supplies and going outside and drawing, or going into another room. And so we'll do that as part of the asynchronous part of class. We'll do some line work. We'll practice on detail. We'll learn how to shade with value so that things can look three-dimensional. We'll try to figure out different ways to incorporate the sense of depth and space. We'll do portraiture. In school, we often do oil pastels. It's kind of messy, so if we're stuck at home, we'll probably do an alternative assignment. This is an assignment that I did in the springtime with my Drawing Twos, which could totally be done with Drawing One. And then, like I said earlier, not only do I want them to learn how to draw better, but I also want them to think about, how do I think like an artist? So how do I come up with original ideas? How do I compose? How do I pick appropriate backgrounds? How do I integrate different imagery together to make it seem intentional? So there are supply lists, and so I'm going to open them up for here. So there are supplies that students will need to get themselves. And so these are all things that you can find at Walmart, Target, any sort of big box store. So they need to have some pencils, pencil sharpener, ballpoint pen, some sort of color supply. So you could get either a cheap marker set like Crayola or Sharpie, or they could get a cheap color pencil set. It's also optional to get yourself a portfolio. This list will be linked onto Canvas. So if you want to do any of the hyperlinks that I have, you have access to it. If you want to order anything nicer than the most basic supplies, Blick is a really good website to go to. And then as we move into in-school, we will need a combination lock, a pocket folder, and a pencil case. I actually think the pencil case would probably be a good idea even at home, just to keep their things organized. But you can see almost all of these things are really not necessarily art supplies. There's also a list of supplies that's going to be inside their art packets that they picked up last week. And so these are things that they get to keep. There's going to be some paper in there that they're going to get to use. And then there's some things that they're going to have to return. So right now, they're going to need to return the ruler. And if they don't return their ruler, they're going to be charged. It's like $7 because it's a nice, fancy ruler to replace it. So it's really important that they don't bend it or break it or lose it. There is a big possibility that we'll have a second delivery of materials. And so some of those might be supplies to keep, some of those might be things to return. So I'll make sure that I mention those when we get those out. So for grading, right? Rubrics are used in all of our art classes. And so we're going to have different categories, and not all of these categories will be on every single rubric because we don't always dive into every element of a work of art from the get-go. But we typically assess planning and development. We think about how they use the elements of art, things like line and shape and color, how they organize their space, which is composition. I will be focusing on craftsmanship and proper use of materials. I know this might be difficult or different than how we would teach this in person. So I'll have some leniency here, but I really think that those are some of the things that we can really focus on now that we're remote, because these are things that are going to really help them to kind of calm themselves, to be away from the computer, to kind of put their mind in a different place. So we will emphasize this, but I'll assess it based on what I know their experience is like. They are also going to be graded on their demonstration of the execution of their idea through their media, subject matter, and composition, and then also their ability to self-assess. So, be reflective and to see where they have areas of growth. So the breakdown of the grade is right here. It's pretty standard, 85-15 for their overall grade. That's something that we see throughout all of your courses. And then their artworks are going to be worth 90% of their grade, and their practice is very low risk. It's only worth 10%, but I do assess it because I want to make sure that they do it. At any time, if students want to fix their artworks, they totally can. This is the school policy, but I really want students to make their art the best they can. So if they get a 90% and they still want to fix it, I always let them submit it again for a higher grade. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me at that email address, and I will get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Thank you.